The neon sign of Murphy's Tavern flickered against the Seattle rain, casting intermittent red shadows across the wet pavement. Inside the dimly lit establishment, the usual crowd of dock workers, truckers, and various characters from the city's underbelly nursed their drinks and minded their own business. The air hung thick with cigarette smoke and the lingering scent of fried food, creating an atmosphere where conversations stayed quiet and questions weren't asked. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. At a corner booth near the back, Maya Rodriguez sat alone, her fingers wrapped around a glass of whiskey she hadn't touched in 20 minutes. Her dark hair fell in loose waves past her shoulders, and she wore a simple jeans, boots, and a leather jacket that had seen better days. To anyone watching, she looked like just another local trying to forget a hard day's work. Nothing about her 5'4" frame or quiet demeanor suggested she was anything more than what she appeared to be. But appearances, as Maya had learned long ago, could be deadly. She checked her watch again. 9:47 p.m. Viktor Kozlov was late, which wasn't unusual for men in his line of work. Arms dealers, Maya had discovered, operated on their own schedules, driven by paranoia and an inflated sense of their own importance. The delay gave her more time to study the room, noting exit routes, potential threats, and the positioning of other patrons who might or might not be connected to tonight's meeting. The assignment had come through official channels 3 weeks ago, buried in classified documents that required her highest security clearance to access. Viktor Kozlov, a middle-level arms dealer with connections to several international criminal organizations, had been selling military-grade weapons to domestic terrorist cells. Intelligence suggested he was planning something big, a deal that could put serious firepower in the hands of people who intended to use it on American soil. Preparing and narrating the story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. Maya's mission was straightforward. Pose as a buyer, gather intelligence on Kozlov's supply chains and upcoming transactions, then signal for backup to move in for the arrest. It was the kind of undercover operation she'd conducted dozens of times before, the type of assignment that had earned her commendations and the respect of her colleagues at the DEA. What made this one different was the location and the target's particular reputation for violence against anyone who'd crossed him. The tavern's door opened with a creak, admitting a gust of cold air and 3 men who moved with the casual confidence of those accustomed to being feared. The leader was unmistakably Viktor Kozlov, tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of pale complexion that suggested Eastern European origins and a scar running from his left temple to his jawline. His 2 companions flanked him like bodyguards, their eyes scanning the room with professional wariness. Maya felt her pulse quicken slightly, the familiar surge of adrenaline that came with the beginning of a dangerous operation. She'd studied Kozlov's file extensively, memorizing his habits, his associates, and his known methods of operation. The man approaching her table had been linked to at least 6 murders, numerous assaults, and enough weapons trafficking to arm a small militia. He was not someone who tolerated disrespect or deception. "Ms. Carmen Santos, I presume," Kozlov said, as he reached her table, using the alias Maya had established for this operation. His accent was thick, his English careful but confident. "Forgive the delay. Traffic in the city is impossible." Maya looked up from her drink, allowing a small smile to cross her features. "Mr. Kozlov, please sit." She gestured to the empty seat across from her. "And it's just Carmen. I don't stand on formality." Kozlov settled into the booth while his men positioned themselves at nearby tables, close enough to intervene if necessary, but far enough to avoid appearing obvious. The arms dealer studied Maya with calculating eyes, taking in her appearance, her posture, and the way she carried herself. She could feel him assessing her, trying to determine if she was legitimate or if something about the situation felt wrong. "You come highly recommended," he said, finally, signaling the bartender for a drink. "My contacts in Phoenix speak well of your business acumen." The Phoenix connection was part of Maya's carefully constructed cover story. DEA intelligence had identified a defunct gun-running operation in Arizona that Kozlov's organization had briefly worked with 2 years earlier. Maya's team had spent weeks creating documentation, establishing financial records, and planting references that would support her identity as Carmen Santos, a small-time arms broker looking to expand her operations. "Phoenix was good to me," Maya replied, taking a measured sip of her whiskey. "But the heat got too intense down there. Too many agencies sniffing around. Too many people talking when they should have been listening. I decided it was time to explore new markets." Kozlov nodded approvingly. "Smart woman. Arizona has become complicated. Many of my former associates there are no longer in business, if you understand my meaning." The implication hung in the air between them. Maya understood perfectly. Those associates were likely dead, imprisoned, or had fled the country. The arms trade was unforgiving to those who made mistakes or crossed the wrong people. "Which brings us to why we're here," Maya continued, leaning forward slightly to convey interest and urgency. "I've got buyers lined up in Oregon and Northern California, military collectors, survivalist groups, people with serious money who want serious hardware. But my supply chain dried up when Phoenix went sideways." Kozlov's drink arrived. Vodka, neat, in a glass that looked like it hadn't been properly cleaned. He drained half of it in one swallow before responding. "Supply is not a problem for me, Carmen. The question is demand. How serious are these buyers you mention? Are we talking about weekend warriors who want to play soldier, or people with real needs and real money?" This was the opening Maya had been waiting for. Her mission required her to appear legitimate while gathering information about Kozlov's suppliers, his inventory, and his customer base. The balance was delicate. Too eager, and she'd appear suspicious. Too cautious, and he'd lose interest. "Real money," she said firmly. "I'm talking about groups that need equipment for specific operations. They're not buying one or two pieces to show off at the range. They want bulk purchases, military grade, with enough ammunition to matter." Kozlov's eyes sharpened with interest. "Operations? What kind of operations?" Maya had anticipated this question. The DEA's intelligence suggested that Kozlov was particularly interested in dealing with domestic terrorist groups, organizations planning attacks on government facilities, infrastructure, or civilian targets. Her response needed to suggest such connections without being specific enough to implicate herself in any actual criminal planning. "The kind that don't get discussed in detail until trust is established," she said carefully. "Let's just say my buyers are motivated by more than collecting. They have strong feelings about certain government policies, and they're preparing to express those feelings in practical ways." A slow smile spread across Kozlov's scarred face. "I like you, Carmen. You understand discretion. Too many people in this business talk too much about things that should remain private." He finished his vodka and signaled for another. "Tell me about your financial capabilities. Serious hardware requires serious investment." Maya had prepared for this question as well. The DEA had established a series of shell accounts and financial instruments that would allow her to appear credible without actually having access to the amounts she was claiming. The trick was to suggest significant resources while maintaining the careful paranoia that characterized legitimate arms buyers. "I can move up to $2 million in clean money on short notice," she said, watching his reaction carefully. "For the right deal, with the right guarantees, I could go higher. My buyers are well-funded, and they understand that quality equipment costs quality money." Kozlov's eyebrows rose slightly. $2 million represented a significant transaction in his world, enough to purchase serious military hardware or large quantities of standard weapons. Maya could see him calculating, weighing the potential profit against the risks of dealing with a new contact. "That's impressive," he said slowly, "but money alone doesn't make a deal. I need to know I'm working with someone who understands the rules of this business."
Someone who won't panic if things get complicated. This was another test, Maya realized. Kozlov was probing to see if she had the experience and temperament to handle a major arms deal, with all the risks and potential violence that such transactions involved. Her response needed to demonstrate competence without revealing any law enforcement training or perspective. "I've been in complicated situations before," she said, meeting his gaze steadily. "Phoenix taught me that this business requires flexibility and nerve. I don't panic, and I don't make amateur mistakes. When I commit to a deal, I deliver." Kozlov studied her for several long seconds, his pale eyes searching her face for any sign of deception or uncertainty. Maya maintained her composure, drawing on years of undercover training and real-world experience in dangerous situations. She'd sat across from drug cartel leaders, human traffickers, and other violent criminals, learning to project the right combination of confidence and respect that such meetings required. "Good," he said finally, "because the kind of hardware you're talking about doesn't come from sporting goods stores. My suppliers are serious people who don't tolerate problems. If you're not prepared for that level of business, it's better to know now." Maya nodded. "I understand. What kind of timeline are we looking at?" "That depends on what you need," Kozlov replied. "Standard weapons, handguns, rifles, shotguns, I can deliver within a week. Military-grade equipment takes longer. Automatic weapons, explosives, body armor, specialized equipment, these items require more careful handling." The mention of explosives sent a chill through Maya. Intelligence reports had suggested that Kozlov might have access to such materials, but hearing him discuss them so casually drove home the seriousness of the threat he represented. The domestic terrorist groups he was supplying weren't just planning to rob banks or settle personal grudges. They were preparing for something much more destructive. "My buyers are interested in the full spectrum," she said carefully. "Some want traditional firearms, others are looking for more specialized equipment. Can you handle variety?" Kozlov's smile turned predatory. "Carmen, I can provide anything your buyers desire, as long as they understand the prices reflect the risks involved. Automatic weapons start at $15,000 per piece. Explosives are priced by type and quantity. Body armor, night vision equipment, communications gear, all available, all military grade." Maya felt her heart rate increase. The prices Kozlov was quoting represented serious money, the kind of investment that suggested his buyers were planning significant operations. The DEA needed this information, along with details about his supply sources and delivery methods. "I'd like to arrange that soon. My buyers are eager to move forward, and I don't want to keep them waiting." Kozlov drained his second vodka and leaned back in his seat. "Eager buyers are good buyers. But before we proceed, I need to verify a few things about your background. You understand, in this business, trust must be earned gradually." Maya had expected this. No serious criminal organization conducted business without thoroughly vetting their contacts. The DEA had spent considerable effort to create a backstory that would withstand scrutiny, but there were always risks when dealing with experienced operators like Kozlov. "What kind of verification?" she asked. "Nothing invasive," he assured her. "Just some basic fact-checking with mutual contacts, review of financial capabilities, confirmation that you are who you claim to be. Standard due diligence." Maya nodded. "That's reasonable. I'll provide whatever documentation you need, but I hope you understand that I'll be conducting my own verification as well. My buyers insist on it."
As she finally made her way back to her hotel, Maya thought about the delicate balance she would need to maintain in the coming days. She had to appear eager enough to keep Kozlov interested, professional enough to earn his trust, and cautious enough to avoid arousing suspicion. Most importantly, she had to remember that beneath her Carmen Santos cover identity, she was still DEA Special Agent Maya Rodriguez, and she had a job to do that could save lives. The rain continued to fall as she walked through Seattle's empty streets, each step taking her deeper into an operation that would test every skill she'd developed during her years in law enforcement. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new risks, and new opportunities to gather the intelligence that could stop a network of domestic terrorists before they could strike. Maya pulled her jacket tighter against the cold and picked up her pace. There was work to be done, and time was running out. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.